How's it going, guys? I'm Shifty Cow, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about shotguns in Rainbow Six Siege. So before we get into it, if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and comment if you have any ideas for a future video. But anyways, guys, let's hop right into it. So the reason I actually wanted to do this video is about a week or so ago, there was a patch for Rainbow Six Siege, and it basically did a bunch of adjustments, and the biggest thing was that it nerfed Frost's shotgun, the Super 90. So I kind of wanted to go in and look at all the different damage stats for shotguns and see how much adjustment it actually got and which is the most viable option. So before we get into any of the actual damages for each of the shotguns, I did want to talk about how the shotguns actually work, or how we think they work, because we were doing a lot of testing with them, and we realized that it's actually somewhat random in what the spray pattern is for each pellet. And what it turns out, or it looks like, is most, if not all, shotguns shoot about 8 pellets, and each of those pellets do anywhere from 9 to like 16 damage. So obviously at 16 damage times 8, that's like 130 or so, and that's going to be a one-shot kill for any tier, but obviously that's going to be up close because at further ranges, not only do you get less damage, but you also get more spread. So this is illustrated right here. He's just shooting me from a really far distance away, and we're making the assumption that I'm only being hit by one pellet just because it is such a long distance away, and the spread really just hits like its max threshold. So I'm going down by 9 health each time, so that's kind of how we got to that. So it might be a little bit different, but we actually think this is how it works, and it would make a lot of sense. So there is some kind of randomization in there, so there's going to be a little bit more spread, or there's going to be slightly different spread depending on if you're moving. But all of these damage tests were taken from 10 meters, and we used the hostage to kind of measure that out. And then also they were taken standing still, ADS'd, and the person who was getting shot had their pistol out, just so that way we had the same player model to shoot at each time. So moving on to the damage test, we primarily focused on 4 different shotguns: the M590A1, the M1014, the SASG12, and of course the Super 90. So we didn't really test the M870 just because it didn't really seem very viable compared to the other shotguns. And also the SG-CQB seems very similar in damage and spread to the M590. So we just kind of left those out just to save some time. But anyways, guys, we're going to be starting things off with the M590 pump action shotgun. So this holds 8 rounds. It can be used by either the attackers or the defenders. And honestly, this was one of the more lackluster shotguns. So first of all, it took 2 to 3 shots to take someone down depending on what tier of armor they had, which really isn't that good at 10 meters, and keep in mind this could be affected by just a random spread, so this isn't always going to happen in game, but 2 to 3 shots to take down one person at 10 meters is pretty bad for a shotgun, especially when it's a pump action and it shoots so slowly. So moving on to the M1014, I would say this is one of the biggest rivals for Frost Super 90. So the biggest thing, it's a semi-auto shotgun, it shoots very quickly, and also in our damage models, at 10 meters it was able to one-shot every single tier of armor, which was very impressive. So keep in mind, this doesn't mean you're always going to be able to one-shot someone inside 10 meters just because there is that, bullet randomization, but it was pretty impressive to see how well it did considering how fast it shoots and that it can be used by both teams. So moving on to the SASG-12, this was kind of a disappointment because when you look at its fire rate, it shoots very quickly. You can really just spam this thing incredibly quickly, so it is of course semi-auto, and it holds 11 rounds of ammo compared to most shotguns, which hold around 8 in this game. So the damage does make up for it. It seems to be pretty bad. It's usually a 2 to 3 shot, and when you're doing that, like I said, it can make up for it a lot better compared to the 590, just because the 590 is a pump, and this is semi-auto, so you will have a bit more of a chance, but I'd still think that you'd want to go with something like the M1014, just because you can get a lot more one-shot kills, which in this game, you're probably going to want to favor over a faster fire rate. Speaking of fire rate, it's also interesting to see that all of these semi-auto shotguns seem to shoot at the same fire rate, and also all of the pump actions seem to shoot at a very similar fire rate as well, other than the M870, just because that one's a little bit wonky. It does shoot a little bit faster, but keep in mind it still has that 2 to 3 shot and it has some more damage drop off. So sadly I wasn't able to get a lot of footage of that, but just know if you do want to go with that you're going to be very limited on your range. So in conclusion, although there was a little bit of variation when it came between damage of the Super 90 and the M1014, I'm going to go out and say that they're pretty much the exact same shotgun, And if you did have to rate from the best shotguns to the worst shotguns, at the top I would put the M1014 and the Super 90 because those things are just amazing. Second, I would probably put Tachanka's weapon because it doesn't, do as much damage per hit, but you can just spam it so fast and it does have 11 shots. And then finally, I would put the pump actions with the M590 and of course the SGCQB and all those guys, because the pump actions in this game really don't have an advantage of damage over range. They don't have tighter spread, and really, if you do want to do well in this game, go with the semi-auto shotgun and you'll be on your way. But anyways guys, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below and comment if you'd like to see any more types of videos like this. Subscribe if you did really enjoy the video, and until tomorrow guys, stay buttery.